today's edition of the Thrive Time Show.
Andrew, on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we're interviewing a great guest. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and he's a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, and he's on today's show to share with you about his new book. His name is Donald Miller, and in his new book, he asks the question, is the content in his book more valuable than a college degree?
Oh, wow.
And Andrew, did you go to college?
For a very short period of time, I did.
Did you find yourself learning a lot in college?
I did not learn anything in college.
He did not learn a lot in college.
I mean, you've gone on to have a very successful career already as a consultant, and you skipped college.
I did, yeah.
And there's a strong argument out there as to why saddling our young people with massive amounts of college debt is not a good move. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that shows that why, saddling our students, our young people with a massive amount of college debt is becoming a great burden of our age.
That's right.
And why as soon as kids are leaving home, Americans are, for whatever reason, excited about signing their kids up for a life filled with college debt. And on today's show, our guest, Donald Miller, the best-selling author, Donald Miller. He's a New York Times, Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He's a business consultant of choice for Berkshire Hathaway, Chick-fil-A, and TOMS. He's going to share with you about his new book and why he believes if you purchase his new book, Business Made Simple, his new book is more valuable than a college degree.
That's great. That's
Andrew,
awesome.
all this and more on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Clinton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm a dive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, we are in the air everywhere. And Dr. Z, I am fired up about today's guest because he is asking the question, can you make more money as a result of reading his book than you would make if you earned a college degree?
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It's like a Peter Thiel kind of idea. The guy who originally funded Facebook. It's like a very Elon Musk idea. The question is, do you need a degree? And if you read his book and implement the topics taught in his book, Business Made Simple, can it be more valuable to you than a college degree? And so I'm excited to interview today's guest, Donald Miller. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
So glad to be here.
Hey, for the listeners out there that don't know this about you, you are a New York Times bestselling author, a Wall Street Journal bestselling author. You're kind of a big deal. However, where did you come from?
I came from none of those places. I came from a single parent home. Dad split when I was about 2 years old, stood in line for government cheese. Mother never made more than about $20,000 as I was growing up, did not go to college, barely got out of high school. Really thought I was pretty dumb until about maybe my first year out of school. I started reading, got a job at a publishing company, met with a bunch of authors at that publishing company, realized that they weren't actually that much different than I am. They just had a good work ethic. They could sit down in front of a computer. So wrote a book. That book sold about 4 copies. I think my mother bought 3. I bought 1. And then the next book hit the New York Times and stayed on the list for about 40 weeks. And that really launched my career and introduced me to a whole new world. From there, started a company with $0, 0 investors, no loans from the bank. And in about 5 years, grew it to what it is today. It's about a $16.5 million company, and we're on our way to do even better things. And so I wrote this book, Business Made Simple, to teach other people that path, the path from, I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know if I'm educated enough. College may have helped me, may have not. Maybe I didn't go. Maybe I did, but I don't remember anything I learned. And now I want to grow a company. And I just don't think it's not that it's easy. I just don't think it's that hard. And I don't know that a business degree is going to help you as much as the practical knowledge in this book.
I really do want to make sure the listeners understand this idea. You said your first book you sold 4 copies. Is that correct, or very, very few copies?
Yeah. It was about 10,000, which is the equivalent of 4 in the eyes of a publisher.
Sure. Yeah.
So I want to go there for a second before we get into your new book, because I think everybody out there has wanted to become an author, or those who have wanted to become an author. You want to become an author. You want to start a business. And you start off with those those humble beginnings where the traction's just not there.
But it's not sexy. People don't want to talk about that.
But I want to talk about that. What was the name of your first book there,
Yeah.
Don?
The first book was called Prayer and the Art of Volkswagen Maintenance. That one's the one that sold about 10,000 copies. Then I wrote Blue Like Jazz, and that one sold about 1.2 million copies.
You said Prayer and the Art of what?
Volkswagen Maintenance.
I've never heard of
The
that
dub,
book.
V-dubs.
Well, there's a reason you never heard of it. It's because only my mother bought copies.
Now, how did you market the first book?
I didn't. I thought that I was so special and so amazing that people would come to me and want to give me money in order to read my amazing words, which turned out to be absolutely untrue. The second book, I gave them away out of the trunk of my car. I did book readings. I hustled. I worked my butt off, and that one sold.
So the second book you did, what was the name of that book again?
That was called Blue Like Jazz.
Blue Like Jazz. Now, when you sold that book, can you just share with the listeners some of the things that you did to market that book? Because I think that is something that our listeners would want to ask you.
Well, I didn't have what's called a platform, right? I didn't have a platform. So I negotiated a deal with the publisher where I got about, 1,000 copies. I personally autographed them, signed them, sent them with personal letters to influential people. And I would call them and if they had any questions. And I just kept pushing that. The first year, that book sold 21,000 copies.
Wow.
But then I got it into the hands of some people who really wanted college students to have the book. And so they negotiated with the publisher. I went back and forth with them. They negotiated with the publisher to do a special print of about 100,000 copies. And they gave that book away on college campuses. And that's what got the fire going. But anybody wants to be a writer, anybody can write a book, and I highly recommend it. I don't even think it matters that the book sells. You get so much benefit from just processing your own story that's worth it. But if you do want to be a professional writer and make money at it, the key is to create a product that other people buy and get a massive return on their investment. So if somebody buys your book for $20, I always like a 10x. Anything I make, I want people to get a 10x return on their investment. So for $20, am I giving somebody $200 worth of value? And have I articulated that value on the back of the book? And have I articulated that value when I do a podcast or a radio show? Every person, this is really offensive, but I want to say it and then explain. Every person I see as with a number floating above their head.
Got it.
Somebody that has a $15 an hour is what they're worth. Of course, they're infinitely worth more to God, to me, to their spouse, to their kids. But in the market, there is actually a number floating above their head. And if you can dip potatoes into some grease for 3 minutes and lift it up, you're worth about $12 or $15. Now, if you can do that and manage a team, well, you're worth about $30. If you can do that and manage a team and create a sales funnel that increases sales for the store, you might be worth $50. If you can read a profit and loss statement and cut overhead and trim overhead without cutting quality on your products, you might be worth $100. So the number floating above our head varies based on our skill sets. And what that means is, like a stock, if somebody invests $12 into you an hour, do they get $100 an hour back? If somebody invests $50 an hour to you, do they get $500 an hour back? And if you want to be rich, the key is make everybody else enormous amounts of money, and then you're worth a lot of money yourself.
That is powerful, Thrive Nation. How to become a high-value person right there. You might want to take notes and listen to that again. Now, obviously, you're adding value because at a certain point, HarperCollins, you guys worked on a deal, and you worked on your new book called Business Made Simple. What inspired you to write this book, Business Made Simple?
I wanted to hand myself a book when I was 25 years old and say, Don, you really kind of screwed up in high school. You didn't pay a lot of attention. You didn't think you were smart. You didn't figure out that till later. Now you're 25. You're just starting out as a young professional. You don't have a bachelor's degree. I want to tell you something. If you understand the 10 skill sets in this book, because there's 10 skill sets I talk about in the book.
Yeah.
If you know how to do these things, you can walk into any company and make that company a truckload of money. And what they're going to figure out real quick is they can hire this Harvard grad over here who really doesn't know what they're doing because they read a white paper on trade with China. They studied a Volkswagen ad selling Volkswagens to suburban housewives in 1973. None of that is used in the market today to make anybody money. Or they studied what it takes to be chairman of the Federal Treasury, which they will never be. But you actually take these 10 skill sets into that company, you'll make them a truckload of money, and they're going to smell that. They're going to figure it out within a year, and they're going to keep giving you promotions and raises because they've got to fight to keep you because you're that valuable. And that's what what I wanted to do was ignite the imagination, the entrepreneurial business imagination of a whole generation of not just young people, but anybody thinking about going back and getting their MBA, anybody trying to grow a company. There are certain things you need to know to grow a company, and I'm convinced college is not teaching most of it. And then they're teaching it to the people who aren't paying attention because they don't know they need it. And then they're teaching it through long lectures that you don't remember. So anybody who has a degree doesn't remember anything they learned anyway. So why not have a book that has 60 daily entries? You literally pour yourself a cup of coffee, you read 60 daily entries, and every day you get a video, about a 5 to 10 minute video that reinforces that entry. And at the end of 60 working days, you know more than probably 95% of the business people on the planet. You know how to make somebody money. And just like a stock, if I buy a stock and it gives me a great return on that stock, I buy more of that stock. I divest myself of stocks that I buy and they give me no return, or I lose money. People are just like that in the economy. If I pay you a paycheck and you make me more, I'm going to give you a bigger paycheck the next year and a bigger one because I've got to compete to keep you. And this book, Business Made Simple, teaches you to be that kind of person.
Clay, I'm in trouble.
What, you in trouble? Why are you in trouble?
Well, I mean, on the hierarchy of value, I don't even know how to. I can't just step away. I don't even know how to fry something in a fryer. So
No,
I mean,
but
I'm not
you
even
know how
10
to
to
do
12 bucks an hour there. I mean, I'm probably what?
No. I disagree. You know how to keep somebody's attention. You know how to make somebody laugh. You know how to keep them listening to the airwaves so they'll pay attention through an advertisement that sells product. That is a skill set very, very few people on this planet have. It is of extreme value. You make people money every single day. So that's an economic value that you have. Then people need to laugh. They need to smile. They need a break from the crap that they're having to deal with. So you're giving people an emotional value. I would disagree with you very strongly. I would say you have a very strong value.
Okay, you caught me, Donald.
See, I've been reading. See, I was skimming a book called "How to Become a More Passive Aggressive and Less Influential Person."
Oh yeah,
And
you
one of the
did
tips,
pretty good with
one
that.
of the tips is you talk about another person as though they're not in the room.
Oh yeah, that's a good
So
move.
let me try it real quick.
Okay,
Because
all right.
this book I read will make you less money if you read this book, whereas this book, Business Made Simple, will make you more money. See, do you think it's okay if I ask Donald Miller a question that might be a little too far?
What was going to stop you? I
You see
can't
what I
believe
did?
you
I'm
haven't.
asking you. You're
Right.
giving me permission.
Right.
It's going to happen to Don. That's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing. That's a nice move.
All right,
That's a move.
so Don, he's giving me permission to ask you a question. So here we go. You talked about 10 core skills in the book, and we've got a lot of guys in the studio here, and they want to ask you about some of the skills. And I'm just going to ask you, what's maybe one skill you teach in the book that everybody needs to know?
Well, we spend 4 days just on negotiation.
Okay.
Just on how to negotiate with somebody, why you should always make the opening offer. Now, every other negotiation teacher will say, let the other person make the opening offer. I say no. I say you're setting the anchor in the negotiation if you make the opening offer. Here's a second core skill that's in the book. It's the second day of the 60 days. That's one day. Here's the second. There's something that the person wants that you're negotiating with. They want it more than money. They want a sense of peace. They want a sense of pride. It's called going below the line. And if you go below the line in the negotiation, you might be able to give that person something that's very, very valuable that they would pay you more money for. Here's another skill in negotiation. There are two types, collaborative and competitive. The collaborative is looking for a win-win situation. The competitive is looking for a win-lose. And you have to recognize if you're negotiating with somebody, if they're a competitive negotiator, they don't just want to win, they want you to lose. So what you need to do is say, look, if I do that, that's as far as I can go. They're looking for the bottom that you will possibly go to. You need to create a false bottom give them the satisfaction of having beat you, but at the same time, you got exactly what you wanted because you created a false bottom, pretending not to go any further, and that's what they were looking for. Those are 3 daily entries in the book and 3 videos that come with those entries, and I teach you how to do all
so
3.
Good.
All right, Dr. Z, we're going into the thunder round. The thunder round, it's kind of like the lightning round, except the sound effect is different.
Yeah, it is.
It feels sexier, it feels hotter, it feels more impressive.
And it's an impressive named round.
When you say thunder, it kind of gives that Oklahoma theme.
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot of thunder here.
Thunder.
We're doing a lot with this.
And
So, Dr. Z, you own a bank. You're an optometrist. You own the state's largest auto auction. See if you can paint Donald Miller into the question, into a corner with a nefarious question that he's not prepared for. With all due respect, you see that?
Yes. No offense.
With no offense.
Yeah, no offense. Do you do much business coaching for businesses that are already going? I mean, do you come in and consult with them, or do you kind of like to just stand back and I mean, are you for hire for if a business is failing? They go, man, I need this guy, or you just kind of like buy my book and you'll get everything you need? Do you consult?
I do. I go in and I do coaching with businesses. I'll work with you for 1 day. I promise a 10x return on what you pay me.
Okay.
And if you don't make a 10x return on what you pay me, I write you a check and give you your money back. I also have certified about 200 business coaches at hireacoach.com.
Oh, wow.
And all of those people are certified by me.
Do they give the same 10x guarantee that you do?
They don't.
So just real quickly, I know you probably see tons of things that are wrong when you go into businesses. What's one of the more likely or the more common that you come in and see?
A business is trying to look successful rather than actually be successful.
Wow, break that down for us.
That's hot.
That's hot. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big one. I mean, you're trying to look successful, but you're actually not successful. You know, I look at business like an airplane. The body of the airplane is your overhead. Mm-hmm. The cockpit is your leadership. The right engine is your marketing. Sales is your left engine. Wings are your product. And the fuselage is your cash flow. And all of that has to exist in proportion. Otherwise, the airplane won't work. If you walked up to an airplane to fly home for Christmas and the body was enormous, it had 2 tiny little wings with little rubber band propellers.
Oh, no.
You would not get on that airplane.
No, you wouldn't.
That thing won't fly. So our coaches can look at a business and know exactly what's wrong with it within about 10 minutes of having a conversation with them.
Wow, that's cool.
Z, I want to say something again. This is a pro tip from this book I've been reading. It's how to uninfluence everybody. How to it's
how to be about jackassery at the highest level.
The title keeps changing.
Well, the thing is, when you skim a book, you don't remember the title, anything in it. It's a lot like college.
Yeah.
But one of the pro tips here is what you do is you get a guest on the show and you start asking them questions with increasing speed.
Yes.
So as to create a sense of urgency. A false sense of urgency, and then you do the move where you hang up at a time when they didn't expect it.
Yeah. Oh, that's powerful.
And I'm not saying I'm going to do that. I'm just skimming through the book, and I'm just saying I'm creating that tension right now that the book.
I feel it.
The book says if you do this enough, you will get kicked out of off of most interviews. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Josh, what question do you have? You run Living Water Irrigation. It's a successful multi-million-dollar company. What question do you have for Donald Miller here, or do you want to pull a tip out of the passive-aggressive book and attack him?
Hey, Donald, thank you so much for joining us and taking my question. First and foremost, a lot of our listeners need to go back to that dollar sign above their head. I think there's a whole lot of value in that, and I think if you people were to really think about that, that's really, really awesome. What I would ask you is for those young folks out there who are just graduated or taking a year off or whatever, and they're considering
18-year-olds?
18, 19-year-olds.
Okay.
If you had an opportunity to say a message to them about purchasing your book or going to college or what you would do if that young man wants to own a business someday, what would you say to them as opposed to wasting all their time, money, and energy on college?
2 things. One is buy my book. It's called Business Made Simple. You can get it on Amazon. The second one is this: become known for solving a problem.
Amen.
Oh, that's good.
The only reason people give you money is because you can solve one of their problems. Can you fix their leaky roof? Can you clarify their marketing message? Can you make them more money? Can you make kids want to go to the dentist because they don't? Can you whatever it is. If you become known for solving a problem, people will give you money in exchange for solving that problem. And that problem may change over the course of your career. You may start with one thing and then move on to the next and move on to the next. But when you own real estate in somebody's brain, the only way you can own real estate in somebody's brain, somebody else's brain, They only buy real estate when it in regards to solving a problem. So if you want to be remembered for solving a problem. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're at a cocktail party. You meet two people. They do the exact same thing. You walk up to the first one and you say, hey, what do you do? And they say, I'm a chef. I'm an at-home chef. And you say, it's interesting. Where'd you go to culinary school? What are your favorite restaurants? You ever cook for anybody famous? You do some small talk. You go up to another person. They do the exact same thing, the exact same quality at the exact same price. You say, what do you do? They say, you know how most families don't eat together anymore, and when they do, they don't eat healthy? Well, I'm an at-home chef. I come into your house, I cook for your family so that you sit down, you actually bond over a meal, and you do not feel guilty about what you're feeding them. Who's going to get more business? The person who's going to get more business is the person who framed their service as the solution to a problem. And what I would say to every college student is own a freaking problem. Pee around your territory. Own it. And if you own a problem in your geographical region, you're going to be a millionaire.
Now, again, the book is called Business Made Simple. It's got a blue cover, and you ask the question. Can this book make you more money than a college degree? And you also point out there, Donald, that many people today, many students today, they go to college and they graduate with an alarming amount of college debt. You said that college debt is the great burden of our age. As soon as kids leave home, they make one of the worst decisions of their lives to borrow enormous amounts of money in order to start a company that will likely never pay, or in order to start a career, not a company, in order to start a career that will likely never pay them enough to pay off the debt. Can you comment on that? Because those are strong words that you wrote there, sir.
Well, let's just do the math. If you leave college with not much debt, a small percentage, because you got scholarships, maybe your parents helped you a little bit, you're leaving with $50,000 in debt. That $50,000 in debt sounds like $50,000. It's actually a lot more than that, because what you're not going to do is buy a house. You're not going to start putting equity into a house. You're going to live with your parents. More people under the age of 30 and under, are living with their parents than ever before in the history of the country. Why? College debt. So let's add to that. You didn't build equity in a home, which is where most Americans accumulate wealth. So you put that off by 10 or 15 years. You finally buy that home. About 10 years after that, you start having medical problems, and you don't have very good medical insurance. So that's gonna be the other part of what's funneling your money out. You started with debt, then you didn't accumulate wealth. Now medical coverage is taking even more of that money. Then what you're going to do is you're going to retire, and you're going to spend whatever money you were able to save. You're not going to give money to your kids. So you're not going to be able to help your kids buy a house. That's how generationally the middle class shrinks, both in number and their economic income. So the average middle class family is now making $10,000 less per year than they did under Richard Nixon when you adjust the numbers for inflation. That's what's happening. And it's starting with college debt. Now, what did you learn in college? What you learned in college was nothing. You literally can't remember anything you learned if you got a business degree. And I'm not talking about nursing or being a lawyer or being a doctor. I'm talking about actual business. You didn't learn anything. What it did was it gave you a certificate in which you could get a job interview. So it got you to the bottom rung of the ladder. Once you're on the bottom rung of the ladder, you actually have to climb that ladder, and college doesn't help you. It didn't teach you anything that would help you climb that ladder. It just got you the interview. So what's happening now with Amazon is educating their own employees, and they no longer require a bachelor's degree. As some of these major companies say, look, I don't know that college debt is worth it. Let's actually find skills that people have, some experience, and no longer require a bachelor's degree. It's one of the best things that could ever happen to the middle class. Now, what that means is it's open season on teaching people how to be what we call value-driven professionals. Now, my book is $20 on Amazon, and it will teach you more than what you learned in college. In fact, it teaches you not just to climb the ladder, it teaches you to find the hidden staircase that creates value for everybody you work for, so that you make them more money and they pay you a bigger percentage of that money because you have the leverage to negotiate for that higher income. Then you take that money, you buy an asset, you buy a house, you buy maybe a life insurance policy, you fund your SEP IRA, you begin creating personal wealth, and that money that you create, that you put into the market or whatever you do with it, starts making you a secondary income. So college debt is a great way to ensure you're not going to make a whole lot of money and be able to pass money to your kids.
Wow. I want to take everything you just said in the last 2 minutes and put that on a T-shirt and wear that on college campuses.
On a billboard.
You and Donald are like, I don't know. You guys he's like a brother from another mother. Maybe, is he? You two think. This has been preaching this for so long.
If you follow it back to Genesis, we are very close.
Very
related.
very close.
Now, James, you're an attorney. You're from Manhattan. We have Aaron Antis. Right. He runs the largest home building company in this room, in the studio, as well as the largest home building company in Oklahoma. And rumor has it other planets are beginning to turn to ShawHomes.com.
That's the word
for
on the
their
street.
Housing needs. This is why you see a lot of that UFO activity on the late night talk shows. You hear about that? They're coming to look at Shaw Homes. That's what's going on. So, James, what's your final question for today's guest, Donald Miller? And then we'll let Aaron Antis ask a question. And then Donald has big things to do. He's conquering. He's devouring America with the truth. So he's going to have to hang up on us. So what's your final question, James?
Hi, Donald. I'm looking at your webpage here, or at least the HarperCollinsLeadership.com reference to your book here, The Business Made Simple, and I see it comes out on the 19th in I guess a month or so. And I'm looking down, I'm looking at the different sections, or character, leadership, personal productivity, messaging, marketing, business strategy, execution, sales, and management. And what jumped out at me was the personal productivity. I'm an attorney. I'm always looking to see how I can become more efficient. And the question that you have there is, how can you get more done in less time? What's your high level tip or two to comment on that and tell us how we can get more done in less time?
Yeah, so the book comes with 5 days where I give you 5 productivity tips, and I also send you a video in which I teach those tips to you in person, if you will, in video. Here's one of my favorites, and it's this: keep 2 to-do lists every day. So you wake up in the morning, and you only have room. I actually have a planner that you can download as part of the book. You 3-hole punch it. You got a planner. It's right there.
That's sexy. Oh, that's sexy. I'm sorry.
Keep 2 to-do lists. One to-do list is your primary tasks, and the other to-do list is your secondary tasks. So your primary task is work on the book or call that customer back. The secondary task is pick up your dry cleaning. Your brain does not know the difference between picking up your dry cleaning, which will make you no money, and calling the customer back, which can make you $500,000. Your brain can't tell the difference. So what you do is every morning you write the 3 things that you need to do that day that make you the most money or give you the biggest return, and then all the crap that can wait till tomorrow you put in a secondary to-do list.
Is that like side by side, or is it the same page, different pages?
On my planner, and again, you can download the planner for free if you get the book, and I fill it out every day. The 3 primary tasks take up about half the planner, and the 20 secondary tasks take up a quarter of it down at the bottom. And I do that visually to let you know these things aren't as important as you thought they were.
Aaron Antis, today's guest, he is a business consultant for Berkshire Hathaway, TOMS Shoes, Chick-fil-A, insert big company name. He's doing well. He's really doing well as a best-selling author, consultant. What question do you have? And again, if you want to take a page out of the passive-aggressive book and ask him something that upsets him, that's on you, buddy.
All right. Okay. I've actually got a question. I was looking through the books that you've written, and I have an 18 and a 19-year-old coming out of high school, getting into the early years of adulthood, so to speak. And then I'm here, fast forward, I'm at 47.
You're looking good, man.
Already been successful. So thank you, guys. And my question is, what book of yours would you recommend to my 18, 19-year-old? And then what book would you recommend to the guy? We've got a lot of listeners that are business owners. They've had some success in life. Which one of your books would you recommend to the 47-year-old that's had some success?
But I would recommend the same one. I would recommend the new one, and that's not me just trying to sell books.
Yeah.
But if you're 19 years old, or if you're 47, the first 10 entries of this book are all about character. They're not actually skill sets. Those are 10 skill sets that come later. There are 10 characteristics, and let me tell you what just some of them are. The very first one we've already talked about. That is, see yourself as an economic product on the open market. The second one is, see yourself as a hero, not a victim. You see yourself as a victim, you will stop growing, you will stop making money, because you're basically positioning yourself for somebody to come and rescue you. The third, know how to de-escalate drama. The fourth, accept feedback as a gift. The fifth, know the right way to engage conflict, but definitely engage conflict. Don't run from it. The sixth, long to be trusted and respected more than you want to be liked. It's a huge one. Day 7, character, have a bias toward action. You can be really dumb in this world, but if you take action, you're going to beat the smart guy who sits on his couch daydreaming.
So true.
Character 8, do not choose to be confused. A lot of us are choosing to be confused about things we have perfect clarity about. You need to fire somebody, don't be confused about it. Fire them. You need to break up with somebody, don't be confused about it. Break up with them. Don't choose to be confused. 9, and I'll stop with this. I'll leave the 10th as a mystery. But the 9 is this. Be relentlessly and delusionally optimistic. Studies show that people who are delusionally optimistic trick themselves into accomplishing great things.
I knew my delusion was good for something. Thank you for that. That was confirmation.
Clay, this show has been just, I don't know that we've had more info in less time just jammed into a bottle. I mean, this thing is.
It was hot.
And I'm going to demonstrate something that I was paying attention.
Yeah.
And I want to see if I learned something.
Okay.
So, Donald, I'll give you $10 for your book.
Let me tell you something. I'll give you half my book for $10. I'll give you the whole thing for $20 because it's worth it.
25 is the most I'm going to go, okay? 25 is my butt. That's it. I'm stopping there.
You've got a pretty low anchor price. You're
ruthless. Let's settle at 20. That's a nice way to set the anchor price, though.
Donald, thank you so much for joining us, man. I know you could be on a lot of other shows right now. You have a lot of organizations reaching out to you, and I appreciate your time very much.
I don't think I could have been on one that was more fun than this one. You guys were great. Thanks.
All right, brother. You take care.
You're awesome.
And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
Boom. Boom.